I'm looking at the numbers right now and I'm blown away. Bitcoin is at $109,000. I've seen it with my own eyes at $3,000, at $1,000. I've seen it with my own eyes at $800, $600, even $450. Do you realize it's going to be worth millions of dollars? Anyway, those who don't believe just don't buy it. And those who do, just hold on to it. Hold. And this will simply be your capital for many, many years to come, for your future, for retirement, for all the good times. Greetings to you, dear partners, investors, and new viewers of our channel. My name is Chuperko Evgeny, and you are on the RVB Group Investment Fund channel, which has been on the market for 9 years. This is your weekly review of global news and its impact on the cryptocurrency market. Make yourself comfortable. Let's start today's review. Several key topics emerged this week. The Fed is confidently continuing its course toward lowering interest rates. Geopolitics is once again coming to the forefront. Strikes in Gaza and escalation in Ukraine. The cryptocurrency market experienced a severe shakeup with $1.7 billion in liquidations. A heated debate is taking place in the Netherlands. Bitcoin is being discussed as a strategically important reserve, including for the European Union, much like gold was in the past. And today, we'll break down what this means for our investments. Be sure to watch this video until the end. As usual, we'll announce the winner of the 50 USDT contest. Make yourself comfortable, we're about to begin. Let's get started. Let's get started. Let's get started. We're starting. Let's get started. Let's get started. Let's get started. No, it's not visible. The Fed and its dovish policy. The US Federal Reserve has lowered the interest rate by 0.25% and hinted at a possible further rate cut. And the next move could come as soon as the end of this October. Why is this important? Loans become cheaper and liquidity increases. Money flows into the stock market and of course partly into the crypto market as well. But there's also a downside signal. If the Fed is easing, it means the economy is cooling down. Rising unemployment and weak industrial performance. This is a double-edged message. Short-term support for the markets, but in the long run, a reason to remain cautious. However, this caution applies to traditional markets. The crypto market is not included here. Since 2016, I've noticed that the more storms and turmoil there are in the world, the better things get for the crypto market. During times of instability, the crypto market always sees good growth. As strange as it may sound, investors could actually benefit from global instability, because for the crypto market, that's a very good thing. Geopolitics and commodity markets. This week, there was significant instability in the Gaza region in the Middle East. The conflict has escalated. The humanitarian corridor is closed, and unfortunately, the number of casualties continues to rise. There have been new large-scale strikes on infrastructure in Ukraine. All of this increases tensions along NATO's borders. At the same time, the markets are responding with a rise in oil prices. For us, this is a signal. Geopolitical risks are supporting demand for safe haven assets such as gold, Bitcoin, and the Swiss franc. Meanwhile, the crypto market has undergone a September purge. Bitcoin dropped below $111,000 and Ethereum fell below $4,000 in just a few days. Long positions worth $1.7 billion were liquidated. These are the largest liquidations this year. And as they say, the year isn't even over yet. So what does this mean? Weak players are leaving the market. The market has rid itself of overheating. And this is absolutely normal during such dynamic growth. Historically, such shakeups lay the foundation for further growth. The Netherlands. Reserves in Bitcoin. Let's watch a short video. Due to ongoing inflation, the value of fiat money is constantly decreasing. As you may have already heard, the Chamber is asking the government to start creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve in addition to our national gold reserves and is moving on to the agenda. This is quite a big news story of the week as the Dutch Parliament is very actively and vigorously discussing the idea of Bitcoin as a strategically important reserve asset. For now, it's not a law, but it's a huge initiative. But the symbolism is important. Digital gold is appearing more and more often, so to speak, on the agenda, especially among government bodies of various countries. And not just some distant ones, but truly powerful nations. Bitcoin as a strategically important reserve asset for countries is an analogy to the Bretton Woods system, which was established in 1944. Yes, it was during the Bretton Woods system that America deceived the whole world, handing out its paper money, dollars, in exchange for real gold. But that's not what we're talking about today. They pulled off probably the biggest scam in the history of mankind. But yeah, that's not the topic right now. Everything is just like it was back in 1944. Only now the analogy is with Bitcoin. At that time, 1 ounce cost about $35. Today, an ounce has reached between $2,300 and $3,700. That's an increase of more than 60 times. If Bitcoin follows the same path as gold, it could at least grow 60 or even 70 times from its current levels. And that would mean about $6, $7, or maybe even $10 million for just one Bitcoin. In fact, to me, this figure is more than realistic. Let me explain simply. Gold, one way or another, will continue to appear in the world gradually over time. That's just a natural process of the Earth. But as for Bitcoin, only 21 million units were programmed into its code, and not a single one more. And moreover, a huge portion of that amount has long been lost. They will never be recovered. Just think about it. Such a quantity compared to the total money supply. I actually think this figure is even a bit understated. If you still don't have at least one Bitcoin to this day, I highly recommend you try your best to accumulate one. Let's briefly sum up and move on to looking at the chart to see what it actually shows us. This week brought several key signals. First, the Federal Reserve is confidently continuing its course toward lowering interest rates. And this is just the beginning. Geopolitical tensions are fueling strong demand for digital assets. The cryptocurrency market has gone through the biggest purge of 2025. And now the European Union is talking about Bitcoin as a strategically important reserve asset. Interest in Bitcoin is only growing stronger. All of this is laying the foundation for further growth. Now let's move on to looking at the charts for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. And remember, at the end we'll announce the winner of 50 USDT. Let's look at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame and check the Bitfinex exchange. And on the monthly time frame, in just over 3 days, we'll have the close. And for now, since the month hasn't closed yet, it's hard to say for sure, but we do have a pretty overbought RSI, and this triple top is concerning. It suggests there could be a deeper corrective move. That's on the monthly time frame. As for the 3-month time frame, it will also close in 3 days and 13 hours. For now, the 3-month chart looks strong overall. On the 3-month chart, we could see a drop to $90,390 and possibly even to $80,000. If such drops happen, they'll most likely just be wicks, and then the growth will continue because the candle structure is still upward. So, I don't see any real signs of a decline at all. The previous 3 months closed quite well, but we'll keep watching. Now, let's move on to the weekly time frame. On the weekly chart, we currently see the rounding of the charts, which points to a possible continuation of the correction. Let's take a look and open up our drawings. We have a pretty important level, which is around $107,000. If it breaks through that level, the price could drop all the way to 90 and possibly even wick down to around $93,000 for Bitcoin. And that wouldn't be any kind of critical sign, it's just the market. The market is cooling off and there will be some pretty good entry points for buying here. It's even possible, maybe with wicks, I wouldn't rule it out, that we could touch $85,000. But all of this so far just points to a healthy correction, which will simply be followed by further growth. And we will be buying up this correction. At least, that's how it all looks at the moment. Let's take a look. Here you can also see a head and shoulders pattern forming. You could even basically draw it out like this here. And here it is, roughly like this. The neckline has been broken. So let's see where the price could roughly go from here. The drop is already underway. So we could see a good corrective move in Bitcoin down to about $93,000. Basically, those are my thoughts. We might actually see this dump because here the green line has crossed above the purple one from the top. It's putting pressure right now. And there is definitely room for a move. We have a small divergence here. Up, and now the decline has already started here. That's why a corrective move is now more likely than growth, and that's absolutely normal. This is how the market works. When it gets overheated, it just needs to cool down. So, let's look at the Ethereum chart and check the monthly time frame. The previous month closed quite well on the monthly chart. Let's see how this month closes. Well, I'll show a few analogies here now. So, the 3-month time frame also looks pretty strong. On the 3-month time frame, it's easy to move up to around 3,300. Yes, we have a trading range. And maybe even somewhere around $3,000. And possibly even 3,600, or rather 2,600, 2,700, maybe even 2,500. Well, those are the peaks. All this movement could indicate a further continuation of growth. Anything below that could already be a break in the upward structure, and that would mean a market shift. But I absolutely don't see that happening. For now, everything is pointing to further growth, especially on the 3-month time frame. Here we can see that we had a tremendous rise, and after that we had a big, you could even say colossal drop. And this whole stage can be considered a period of major accumulation. Well, at least that's how I see it. So, this long accumulation period, in the range from about $1,000 to $4,900, that's all accumulation. And it should play out perfectly. In other words, the market was accumulating for about 4 whole years. 4 years, just think about it, positions were being built up for 4 years. And this position should really pay off well. So what do we see? On the weekly time frame, we see that there was a breakout from the triangle, and there was even an opportunity to exit here. Yes, we can see that the price approached this level once, then a second, third, fourth, fifth time, many times. And here, even on the hourly chart, we saw a drop. So, basically, either here or here on the retest, if it had happened, there would have been a good entry point for a short. In general, the market is behaving more than reasonably, and it is showing its direction clearly. So, there aren't any unclear or erratic movements happening in the market right now. At the moment, we've reached an important level, around $3,800, and there's a slight rebound happening. But for now, everything still points to a further decline since we have an overbought condition on the RSI here. Here the green line has already been broken. The purple line has been crossed from top to bottom, and this suggests that a continuation of the corrective movement is possible. If the correction continues, let's take a look. The next stop might be around $3,600, then the following one is approximately $3,170 to $3,200. And it's even possible that we'll drop to the 0.618 Fibonacci level. That would be quite a significant corrective move, which is around $2,800. And these numbers are quite possible for us. Of course, maybe they won't let it drop all the way to 2,700, although there's a high probability that a wick will be left, but this corrective movement is now looking more and more likely in the market. I have a good analogy with MNT, Mental, I think that's what this token is called. Let's take a look at it now on the daily time frame. And here basically we see the same thing, one then another. The third bottom, you see, here there was already an exit, and then it went to about the middle. So, 3, 1. What do we have here? On Ethereum, for me, on Ethereum, for us, the picture could be similar, except here we're already looking at the weekly time frame. Yes, on the weekly time frame we have the first, second, and third bottom. So what does this mean? When you have this kind of pattern, this kind of structure, it keeps testing the level, and each time it approaches this level, the level gets weaker. Now, we've had, so to speak, a false breakout, and now we need to test approximately the middle of this level, which is around $2,900 to $3,000, roughly in this range. Wicks are possible, there are no exceptions to that. The middle is about where we saw it in Mental, except here, again, it's on the weekly time frame. We see the first, second, and third bottom. And here we have the same structure. They generally play out in an identical way. We saw it here. 1, 2, and 3. That's why this decline could be similar, and after it, we might see the same kind of prolonged growth. At the moment, I don't see this as the end of the cycle. I believe this is just the warm-up before a rapid, strong, and major move. With growth, and of course, these corrective movements can happen, so our investment strategy, just from our side, and by no means should you take this as financial advice, we do not provide any, will be to make decisions such that, in the event of such a dump, we will buy back into the market and wait for new, higher growth figures. Now, if we look at the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, Let's look at the 3-month time frame. We had a touch point, a rather significant drop. And now we're just starting to see a reversal. We might also see a move through the purple line here, a breakout of the green line from below upwards, and that would also be considered a bullish signal. On the monthly time frame, we saw significant growth, about 150%. And of course, the market needs to cool off a bit. Yes, Ethereum needs to cool off a little. Right now, a corrective movement is taking place, which means there could still be a dump here. Ethereum could drop relative to Bitcoin. It will, of course, fall harder by about 11, maybe 12 or 13%. So, if we look at Bitcoin now and check its decline from the current levels down to around $90,000, yes, as we looked at together, 93, that's about 15%, or maybe even down to 88, which would be about 19 to 20%. Let's say roughly 20%. So, for Ethereum, from the current levels, plus another 11 to 15%, from the current levels, it will drop by about 30%, maybe even 35%. So let's look, 30 to 35%. It might even turn out like this. So, this situation is absolutely normal. Those are my thoughts regarding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And now let's take a look at BNB. BNB. We have an upward structure. Of course, there is currently some overheating on the monthly time frame, but we still have an upward pattern, a bullish flag on the monthly time frame. This is a mega important structure that should continue further and further upward. I've adjusted the chart a bit, and it's possible that BNB might even aim for around $3,000 at its peak. So $2,000 is a good solid jump, I would say, is expected from my side in terms of BNB to USD. 2,500 is already something closer to the maximum, and around $2,800 to $3,000 is already an extreme level that BNB might reach. But that's already the peak, after which there could possibly be some kind of correction. Those are my thoughts on BNB USDT for now. Everything still looks positive. Yes, a corrective move is possible. It might even happen in some miraculous way very quickly, depending on how many days or weeks this corrective move lasts, down to around 800 to 780, yes, roughly those dollars, or 720 to be more precise, to those figures. And that would just be a retest. If we look, basically we had a level here, we had a breakout here, and it hasn't been tested yet, even though the price has already moved. From about this level, we've seen around a 50% move. So it would actually be normal if BNB touches around $715 to $720. And that would be the perfect entry point for BNB. The exchange rate at the time of recording this video is $109,290. And now, congratulations to the winner. This comment with the price of $109,815 wins our $50 contest. Congratulations, you have won $50. Please contact customer support and they will definitely send you your prize. Of course, keep participating. And as for you, my friends, leave your comments. It's a pretty easy contest. All you need to do is write a comment. One person, maybe 3 comments with the exact or approximate price of Bitcoin. And in the next episode, you might just be the winner. Even if the market is turbulent, don't let it shake your emotional state for even a second. There is still a huge, tremendous growth ahead. Don't focus on the moment, it's somewhere here, close by. You need to look a little further ahead, years into the future, and there will definitely be great results, because truly good profits, tens of X's, come in the long term. And the long term in the cryptocurrency market is just 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. Friends, if you liked this video, be sure to give it a like and leave a comment. That will motivate us to create even more high-quality, useful content for you. We'll see that you value our work and we'll strive to do even better for you. And I want to thank you for your attention, for your likes and comments, and for watching this video. Thank you for your attention. See you next time, and goodbye.